All right, so the Padres, they lose game 2 to the Astros 3-2. They have lost the series, and they're trying to avoid getting swept tomorrow night on Sunday Night Baseball a little bit after 4 o'clock our time. Again, that's tomorrow. I think, the bright side is that the bullpen's going to be in a pretty good spot. But obviously, you wish to not see on the other side Josh Hader these past 2 days because the Astros, that means that it's a closing situation, a save situation, and that's what happened. So, today was another one of those where the Padres, they had their opportunities, didn't cash in, and the Astros were able to either cash in right there on the mistakes the Padres made, or they were able to execute later in the inning off of, a mistake that happened earlier in the inning, like a walk, for example. So Michael King, I thought he pitched pretty darn good. Made 1, 2 mistakes, maybe, but definitely only one real mistake on that home run that he gave up to Christian Walker. And Christian Walker, he must forget that he's not on the D-backs anymore. This guy is torturing the Padres. The home run that he hit here, and then because he was off to a pretty slow start, if I remember correctly, going into this series. Home run here, and then in the ninth inning makes a great catch in shallow right field with his back turned towards the infield, making the like Willie Mays type, you know, catch there. It's just like basket catch, and it's like, wow, Christian Walker, I thought we were done with you, but guess not. But yeah, Michael King, sure, mistake to Christian Walker. And Walker crushed that. That ball was on a rope out of the yard. And there was some close thing, like Xander, that is kind of like a Houston thing where that was not a good swing or, good contact by Xander there in that ninth inning, but it almost hit off the wall, and Yordan Alvarez ended up going and making that catch. Tatis had a homer first, by the way. Manny then comes through, drives in Tatis later in the game. Mistake pitch, boom. There were some mistake pitches that Manny hasn't capitalized on this series, but he did there. And the Padres, they had that 2-0 lead, but nothing after that. I'll get to the lineup, obviously, because it looks a lot different than what we want it to look like, obviously. But yeah, I think I look back at this and I'm like, yeah, the walks really got the Padres because there was the walk before the Christian Walker home run. There was the walk by Estrada, and that run ends up scoring. So 2 of the 3 runs, those runners got on base because the Padres gave them that with the walk, the free pass. So it seems like, and I'm sure every fan base in baseball would say this, but it feels like not all of the walks, but 80% maybe of these walks end up coming back and hurting the Padres. And yeah, Michael King, I thought he was really good today. So I'm not as disappointed in, you know, him 2 walks, almost got through 6, could have gotten through 6 if they would have let him. But more for me, the walk that I was more pissed off at was Jeremiah Estrada because that you're facing Victor Caratini, and that pitch that he threw on that the 5th pitch, I think, of the at-bat, it was 96, 97, way up out of the zone. Not even close. Caratini didn't even have to think about swinging at that pitch. That's what frustrates me because you're just saying, here you go. Caratini's not known for his hitting. Bottom 3rd guy in the order, and you just give him the free base. And, you have later in an inning, the top of that order come back up, and someone like Isaac Paredes can come up and drive him in. So that's frustrating. There was, I think, earlier in the game, Arias got on, leadoff walk. Yeah, leadoff. He had 2 walks today. One of them in one of the innings, and then 3 consecutive outs. Just frustrating. But let's go to the lineup because that's part of the frustration, obviously. Tatis, Arias, Manny, okay. Sheets, okay. But you have Oscar Gonzalez up, who wasn't on the opening day roster. I think some fans are okay with Oscar Gonzalez, and I'm fine with it. Former big leaguer. He definitely has potential. He has power. But why did he come up in the first place? Right? Because Jackson Merrill ends up going on the IL. and Lockridge goes to center. And that shuffles around some things instead of Lockridge platooning in left field. Because remember, Lockridge was platooning in left field. So you have Oscar come up. And then you have Tyler Wade come up. Why? Lockridge goes on the IL. And today was a scheduled day off for Bogaerts. He ends up pinch hitting later in the game. But this sort of stuff, you have Wade playing the outfield. Now Bogaerts gets a day off. Instead of Wade just replacing him there, you have to move Wade into the infield. Iglesias goes to short. Wade goes to second. And then who's out there playing center field? It ends up being Connor Joe. Why Connor Joe? Because Jason Heyward goes, or actually, Ornelas was Jason Heyward. But there's just multiple guys. Lockridge goes on the IL. There are multiple guys that end up having to come up here because of these guys ending up on the IL, obviously. So this lineup obviously is not ideal. By the way, I miss Crony. Crony goes on the IL, so Wade goes up. Heyward goes on the IL, and you see Ornelas come up. Lockridge goes on the IL, you see Connor Joe come up. So I think those are more the accurate. Yeah, those are more accurate on the actual replacements for those specific players. But you get the point. Like, look at this lineup here. Once you get past Sheets, Gonzalez wasn't here. Iglesias, not a starting player. Wade wasn't on the roster. Diaz, okay, yep, catcher, whatever. Joe playing center field, limited center field experience, obviously wasn't on the big league roster to start the season. So you go down the list of injuries here, and I think this is where we can look at this glass half full. The Padres, they're 15-6, and let's go through a list of injuries that they have right now. And maybe I'm forgetting someone because this is off the top of my head, but let's start with the pitching. You got Darvish, Musgrove, Waldron, Brian Hoeing, Sean Reynolds. You got those guys on the shelf, on the IL. Then you go offensively, and you've got Merrill, you've got Crony, you've got Lockridge. Now you have Jason Heyward, who ended up going on the IL today, by the way. Left knee inflammation. It was knee soreness yesterday, and so now they label it inflammation. So I wouldn't think that this is it for him. Like, I think that they would give him a shot to at least be on the bench when he comes back healthy. But this is definitely an opportunity for Oscar Gonzalez, for Tirso Ornelas, to come up, hit, and make Mike Schultz keep them in the lineup, at least platooning, maybe every day. But right now, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see Oscar Gonzalez against lefties, and we'll probably see Tirso against righties because he's a lefty. So it's those opportunities there. Connor Joe will get some opportunities, obviously. And what are they going to do with them? You got to be ready when the opportunity presents itself. You don't know when it's going to come, but now it has come. So we'll see how they do. But, there's Padres fans that wanted to see Tirso come up, wanted to see Oscar come up, and now we get to see it. So obviously rooting them on and hoping for the best. But yeah, just looking at a glass half full, that's a lot of injuries. Starting center fielder, starting second baseman, starting left fielder, based on situation. You've got two guys that would be in your rotation, obviously, in Musgrove and Darvish. We already knew Musgrove was going to be out, but still, he's a starting pitcher still. He's out. Darvish, he's out. Progressing, but still out. And then you've got guys that would be in the bullpen, at least one of them for sure, Brian Hoeing, out. And they're still 15-6. So I want to look at that positively. But at the same time, obviously disappointed in these first two games in Houston. Had opportunities to come through. Didn't. Some mistakes being made. The walks killing the Padres. And that's where they sit before going into tomorrow, just trying to get one game here in this series before they go to Detroit, who is another team that could be a playoff contender. I think is looked at by a lot of people, especially in that division, as being a playoff contender. But shout out to Tirso Ornelas. More than 8 seasons, more than 8 years in the Padres organization. From Tijuana in the organization in 2016. In the thumbnail of this video, you'll see that picture in 2016 that Peter Seidler had with Tirso, and he posted on his Instagram, and he captioned it, I believe, future Padres star Tirso Ornelas, and that was at the Futures game, which I love being. When I was younger, I'd go to all those and get the autographs, and um, I love that. But yeah, Peter, actually, here it is, October 8, 2016. The post on Instagram, it's still up there. Future Padres great Tirso Ornelas of Mexico. Hashtag Mexico baseball. Hashtag Padres. Hashtag serious. And it's just a picture of him and Tirso. Looks like down the first baseline. No, maybe that's third. Doesn't matter. Down one of the lines. And yeah, Peter just smile on his face, enjoying himself. That was obviously when the Padres were in their blue. But yeah, I remember Josh Naylor playing in those games. Tatis, I believe, did. Luis Arias played in those games, at least one of them. So that was fun. Obviously, you wish the big league team was better at that point in time, but now we're here where the Padres are one of the best teams in baseball. And hopefully, this is just one of those rough. I don't even is a rough patch. Like sometimes it's baseball. Sometimes you're not going to come through. And the Astros, they're not what they used to be, but they're still a talented team. They're not the Marlins or the White Sox playing in Houston. Losing a series, I don't think that's a rough patch. That's just going to have every team in baseball loses a series. Sometimes you get swept. Sometimes you lose multiple series. Sometimes you lose 3 series in a row. But again, like going back to the Padres' great start of winning, 15 of their first 20, 15 of their first 19, I think. Right? Definitely 15 of the first 20. And that's huge because you don't know what's going to happen. Injuries that pop up. Just sometimes not good enough performances. Leaving guys on base, walking guys. So things happen. It's baseball. You run into a hot team. That's going to happen over the course of a season. So I'm obviously not in panic mode here. Um, yesterday we could talk about like Kyle Hart and the amount of hits that he gave up, and he doesn't blow people away with velocity, so he has to hit his spots. But Michael King, he's coming off of a complete game shutout. Let's not forget about that. That was not that long ago. That was last weekend. And today, he would have went 6 innings and 6 inning shutout if he didn't make that mistake to Christian Walker. And that's baseball. But yeah, with Tirso, getting back to him, over 8 years to get to the big leagues, making the debut, wearing number 21 out there in center field. Popped up in his first at bat, so that first hit will have to wait. We'll see if he gets into the lineup tomorrow, or if we'll have to wait for Detroit. But just really cool seeing the amount of stops that he has had at the minor league level. He's been through every single level in the Padres system. He was playing in Mexico. Just go look at his baseball reference page, and you'll see a ton of different stops. And I wanted to read them to you because, I mean, this is what it is. This is what baseball players sometimes, whether it's American, international players, whatever, they go through this away from family sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, and just grinding it out on those bus rides. And, Mud said it on the broadcast. Now Tirso, he'll get to enjoy the chartered flights, not, going to the airport or, the bus rides. He'll get probably better food up there, the 5-star hotels. Here it is. Finally, baseball reference loaded. So rookie ball in 2017 at age 17. Then he was at Fort Wayne. Then in Mexico, Mexican Pacific Winter League, that he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So it seems like he does that every offseason. And then Lake Elsinore, went back to rookie ball for a little bit. Then Fort Wayne again, El Paso in 2022, AAA. Not a lot of games, but most of his games were in San Antonio and AA that year. He was in the Arizona Fall League, El Paso in 2023, some San Antonio as well. And then 2024, the entire year was El Paso. He won Padres Minor League Player of the Year, I believe. I don't think it was just an El Paso thing. I think it was the entire system where he won that last year. And, Padres fans have really wanted to see this guy at the big league level. So hopefully he ends up performing and he can be on this roster and be one of those guys that comes up through the Padres system like Jackson Merrill did, comes up different paths, but, different stories, but comes up through the system, was with the organization since 2016, comes up, and it can be an impact player on hopefully what will be a postseason team. I love those stories. That's something that's cool about the game of baseball, the journey that these minor leaguers take, the years and years and years of not knowing if you're going to make it, up and down different levels and the bus rides and all that. And you get to see, your family in the stands watching you play in the big leagues out there in Houston today. Like that's got to be pretty darn incredible. And I hope Peter is smiling down, seeing that kid that he took a picture with in 2016. That kid is now at the big league level.